Hello, and thank you for coming to Hellfire Press Archives. My name is Ephraim Gonzalez, and I am the archivist. I started doing photography in the 1960s. I photographed my television set as Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, and I continued photographing everything around me. And when I moved to New York City in 1975, I began photographing New York City street life and nightlife and all kinds of cultural life that existed at the time. I drove my taxi around, and when I wasn't driving, I would walk the streets: Greenwich Village, East Village, Lower East Side, Soho, Tribeca, and see a lot of the marvelous things that were going on the street at the time. Now, my photography covers a very wide range of cultural events, cultural organizations, cultures. And what I hope to do is to show you some of my photography and talk about what's going on in the picture. Why did I take that picture? Well, I took it because it seemed like a good idea at the time, seemed like fun. For example, right here, you can see Sheridan Square in the 1992 Gay Pride March. And here you see the Pride March is actually, no, I believe this is 1983. 1983 Gay Pride March, marching through Sheridan Square as they're going on the way up Fifth Avenue. They're basically going due east to hit Fifth Avenue and sweep up Fifth Avenue, end up in Central Park. And why isn't this? Oh dear. All right, let's try this again. Aha. Okay. Technology, don't you just love it? All right, this should pop up. That is there, and none other. And then what we shall do is go directly into slideshow. And there we have it. And there are the controls. Thank you very much. Here we have the Meatpacking District at night, 1980. And on the far left, you can see the High Line with no trees or people on it. No, not even trains at this time. And you are now on Gansevoort Street, where the Whitney Museum now stands. And as you can see, this is a shot taken at night. And you'll notice there's almost no cars, no people on the streets. It's very deserted. And that's what attracted me to the Meatpacking. It was very deserted. It was like a set from The Walking Dead. And here we have Sheridan Square at night, taxi cabs going through. And Charles Lane at night, surrounded by old brick buildings. You'll never see this site anymore. The old brick buildings on either side of this lane, this alley, have been torn down and replaced by glass condo towers. So the spookiness of this old brick-lined, cobblestoned lane at night, which is so spooky to look at when you're walking down the street and you wonder, should I walk down this dark alley? And you'd be saying, no, it's too scary. Now you go there, it's like, now you wouldn't want to walk down there because the doorman will probably chase you away. And here we have the old West Side Highway. It's no longer any cars on it. This is, I believe, around 1980. And you can see trucks parked under the old West Side Highway and cars parked across the street along the Hudson River, and trans sex workers just standing on the corner waiting for life to go by, waiting for a customer to say hello. And this is Charles Street, looking south on the West Side Highway. And you'll notice you have restaurants, you have motorcycle shops, you have bars up and down the block. You would have the Ramrod, Badlands, Sneakers further down the block. In the distance, somewhere over here, would be the World Trade Center. And over here you have Ralph Cycles. So you have motorcycle repair shops all up and down the West Side Highway. You also had porno theaters. These would be very cheap, ready-made theaters that would just be pop-up and gone the next week. And cars parked alongside the old West Side Highway. Oh, silly me, pushing the wrong buttons. And here we are on West 11th Street on Greenwich Avenue. Is this Greenwich or Washington? This is Washington. This is Washington Street. Going south. And you'll notice on the west side of the street on your right, modern brick buildings. In the old days, these used to be factories, warehouses, refrigeration plants, and the old High Line would actually continue all the way down to Canal Street, and they would go through the inside of the buildings. But the buildings were torn down, the High Line got in the way, so that was torn down, and now you have all these wonderful apartment buildings. And of course, what could be better on a Sunday afternoon to sit on the old abandoned piers, enjoying the sunshine, making friends, and, if you're really lucky, making love. These are the old abandoned pier structures that were very active in the gay community. It was at night, it would be an active cruising ground. Men would go in there at night and come out of there at night. And on a Sunday afternoon, you'd go there and sit, schmooze, cruise, say hello, and just enjoy the sunshine. This is Francis, trans sex worker, 1980, along the West Side Highway. Gay Pride, 1993. No, 1983. 1983 in Sheridan Square. And of course, who better to lead the parade than this gentleman, the naked civil servant himself, Quentin Crisp. And you'll notice behind his head is a bagel shop. Right over here is a bagel shop. And the funny thing is, that used to be the Stonewall. The Stonewall lost their money. They couldn't make money as a bar, so they basically turned into a bagel shop. And then as market forces ebbed and flowed, it became the Stonewall, and now they're trying to turn the Stonewall building into a historical monument. But there you have Quentin Crisp driving down Christopher Street. And here's a sight you don't see anymore. Leather daddies. I mean, how many times have you walked the street and see someone in leather chaps, leather motorcycle cap, something straight out of Tom of Finland look? That look has basically gone passé. You don't see that anymore on the streets of New York, very rarely. Only somebody who basically wears it on a professional basis. But back then, 1983, people would just get up, wear their gear, and just be themselves. In particular note, I used to have that particular belt. That was a beautiful motorcycle chain link belt that you could buy on Christopher Street. And I bought one. Unfortunately, I outgrew it, shall we say. I outgrew it, and I had to give it to someone who could wear it with more dignity than I could. And of course, another favorite topic is body modifications. Piercings, tattoos, body modifications, cuttings. And here we have Ray Lingalina. This is the hand of Ray Lingalina, who was doing needle play at a session somewhere in the Midtown Manhattan. And this young lady had a series of needles inserted through the skin, and then they were all tied together. And you can see from the sensation, she is truly reveling in the sensation of all these needles. I used to do a little bit of portraiture. Here is my friend and favorite model, Victoria Woolf, posing for me in my apartment. I had, at the time, my apartment had more room. I had less junk in it, and to, I was able to use it to do studio setup shots. There's the background paper behind her. There were lights, professional strobe lights, and I had a Nikon camera, Nikon F, and I would photograph her. This is, I believe, was I'm not sure if this is originally black. I think this was originally in color. I simply desaturated it and left the tulips on. And one of my favorite parts of town was the old meatpacking, the old original meatpacking. You'll notice the old, worn cobblestones, frayed, ragged. Now, if you go there, it's completely new and polished. They've taken out every single one of the old original cobblestones or Belgian blocks, whichever you prefer, and replaced them with brand new, perfectly flat, perfectly even, brand new cobblestones, so that the ground would be perfectly flush. So when you're walking down the street in your Jimmy Choos, you won't slip and fall and break your ass on the hard cobblestone. So this has been re-engineered, but this is the way it looked. Basically raw, tired, run-down, brick, dirty, grungy neighborhood, which was absolutely wonderful for scene play. I spent many a weekend, many a night in the Meatpacking District, just wandering around, enjoying the ambiance, letting all the grunge and filth and grease just soak into me and just get the feeling that I'm at the end of the world. And it's just fine. It's the end of the world as we knew it, and we're doing great. And of course, what is New York without politics? Here we have Tom Duane, one of the first gay men to openly run as a politician in New York City. This is him in 1990, I believe. 1990, he was running for office along with Deborah Glick, and he won, and Deborah Glick won as well. And just last year, I saw Tom on the steps of City Hall. He's still in politics. He's still wheeling and dealing, doing the business, and he's still going strong. And that's Tom Duane. And of course, everybody knows who this is. You don't? Oh. This is RuPaul. Not RuPaul the way it is today, but RuPaul, a simple RuPaul in 1990 at the Gay Pride March. And there she is in all her glory. Just a simple dress-wearing queer in New York City. If I were to make you look at this photograph, blindfold you, place you in the same neighborhood, you wouldn't know where you were. This is completely transformed by market forces. The Atlas Beef Building has been torn down. It is now a Tesla showroom. The Beef Incorporated building right over here has been transported into a Samsung display building. So if you want to see what the latest Samsung cell phones are, or the latest Samsung technology, or the latest Samsung whatever it is they've invented that they can charge you for, you would go there and they would show it to you in all its full glory. And across the street, you had the Nebraska Beef Company. Yes, Nebraska beef, wonderful beef, all the way from Nebraska, brought here to New York City by train, sliced, diced, packaged, and ready to eat. And now the building's gone. They tore it down. And in its place is now the Standard Hotel. The Standard Hotel stands here where the Nebraska Beef Building was. And in the distance here, you can see basically the Hudson River from this distance. This is the High Line. This is Hogs and Heifers, a biker bar. We'll go more into that later. And of course, what could be more fun than Gay Pride March? And here's someone who is having fun at Gay Pride March on Fifth Avenue. Well, actually, this is Madison Avenue. What is happening is the side street, everyone is packed into side streets. So this is probably in the 50s. This is probably New York City, the east side, 55th Street, perhaps 50th Street. What would happen was at this time, the marchers would be packed into the side streets, and when the parade would start, you would filter out from the street. So here's someone coming down, getting ready to march to Fifth Avenue so they can go all the way down to Greenwich Village. And of course, this is the Vault. The Vault was originally a disco by the name of Mars. Before that, it was another disco, and before that, it was a refrigeration building with very thick walls. And if at this time, if you went up to the second floor, you could still see the radiators along the wall for the refrigeration fluid. At the time, they used saltwater brine that was chilled to 5 degrees below zero, and that was cold enough to freeze just about anything. And the building had very, very thick brick walls to insulate it. And this is now the Vault. This is now the play space. This was purchased by the gentleman who originally owned the Hellfire Club. The Hellfire Club was located on 9th Avenue. Then it turned into the Vault. Then it got old and decrepit and decided we need a larger, better space. So they bought the Disco Mars, renovated it, and turned it into the Vault. And here we have Keith Alexander, master tattooist, about to brand Robert Flutie, who runs Nutcracker Suite. Nutcracker Suite was a club on, I believe, 26th Street between Lexington Park. I do have a problem that I cannot remember all the exact addresses. I mean, we partied, we had fun, we went home. Whoever knew that these places would disappear? And if they did, there'd be another one. So I may not be able to give the exact address of each place, but I can give you the location of the block, the neighborhood, for future reference. But this was the Vault, and here we are on the ground floor, and Keith Alexander, standing, rubber gloves, is going to heat up pieces of metal, and over here on the shoulder blade, he's going to give Robert Flutie a branding. This is a demo that was being done for an audience showing how brandings are done. And what you have here is a very thin sheet of metal. You don't use cow brands. Those are very thick, heavy pieces of metal. That's because cow skin is very, very, very thick. Human skin is very thin and supple. Cow skin, you don't care if how badly the brand looks, just as long as the cow is marked. On human skin, if you use a large brand, you will create a huge lump of scar tissue. Lots of times I've seen very thin, elegant branding designs slowly mutate into a blob because the scar tissue tends to migrate when you have burn tissue. On some people it migrates and some it doesn't, but on some people a thin, elegant burn, which when fresh looks interesting, will eventually heal into something that's like, what is that? So here's Robert Flutie being branded at the Vault. And here we have Nutcracker Suite, which is run by Robert Flutie. And here we have the Baroness at the Tess event, 1995. Gay Pride, Fifth Avenue. And a little bit of firework fun. Well, I hope you enjoyed the slideshow. This is my very first attempt to do such a slideshow. And I will be continuing week by week to select a series of images from a party, event, time, and place. Then I will do a lecture about what's going on and what's happening in the pictures. I may do a series of an event that happened at the Hellfire Club. I may do some more about Gay Pride. I may do some more about fishhook suspension. I covered a lot of events. I covered a lot of subject matter. And for me, it was all a matter of finding my soul in all these events. It was a passion. So I will be continuing to do more and more lectures about subjects. And if you have any questions, just give me an email. If there's a particular subject that you'd want to have a lecture on, if there's a particular person you want to know more information about, ask me and I will research it and see if I have photographs of them. But I thank you very much, and I will see you at the next video. Thank you.